Today I'm going to give a general overview of some of the main technologies we're going to be using this fall 2021 semester. Hello and welcome to In the Classroom, an educational podcast making teaching and learning more transparent. My name is Benjamin Stewart at benjaminlstewart.org, and today's August 6th, 2021. Before we get into today's topic, if anyone has any insights, anything that they would like to share in terms of the technologies that they're currently using to deliver their courses, feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter handle at BNLEEZ, or if you wish to be a part of the Discord community, you can access a link to that community by going to my website at benjaminlstewart.org. Today I want to spend a few minutes specifically addressing those students who are enrolled in class with me this fall 2021 semester. I'm teaching discourse analysis, and I'm teaching a course called Listening and Speaking for Propedeutics, and I'm teaching a course called Communicative Abilities in English 1. This is a first semester course that generally applies all of the 4 skills. So I'm going to give you a brief overview and show some of the technologies, some of the different ways that we'll be accessing the course content. So the first thing I have here up on my screen, and if you're listening to the podcast, feel free to check out the link where you can access the video so you can see, if you're interested, you can see the technologies here that I'm describing and showing here today. All right, here I have a instance of Microsoft Teams here on my computer, and I have one of the courses that I'm going to be teaching, Discourse Analysis. So for those of you who are taking this 5th semester course, along the top, you'll see, if you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, we have a post section and we have a file section. So we'll be using a lot of these 2 different spaces throughout the semester to share files and to share discussions online. And I should say at this point, if anyone has any questions or needs to reach out to me privately, the best way to do that is to send me a message via Teams, but in the chat. Okay, so instead of sending emails, I would prefer that all of our correspondence may be maintained in the chat area. So we have posts, we have files. Now we also have, for this particular course, Discourse Analysis, we have now also a space for Trello, and I'll get into Trello here in a few minutes. If you see here, there are 2 tabs along the top, one that says DA and a second called Discourse Analysis. For some reason, when I add the Trello app to Microsoft Teams, it installs both of these. These are basically the same. If you click on both of these tabs, it's going to open up Trello. So I've tried this several times. In fact, the last week I've been trying to remove one tab, and then later it removes both tabs. So it's some kind of glitch in Microsoft. So for now, we're going to leave both of these tabs open, but just know that these are exactly the same tab. So here you can see where you can access all of the course content in Trello. If you're within Teams, and this is easier for you to access and you want to keep everything within Teams, you also have an option to expand the screen to show more, to have more screen real estate. And you can go back and forth and collapse this as you need to. So those of you who are taking Communicative Abilities in English, CAE, you should also be signed up for Teams. This should also appear when you sign in with your university email. And you'll notice here along the top, you have an area for posts, an area for files, and also you have okay, and if you're just watching this, you'll notice that the Trello post just got removed. Okay, so there is definitely something going on here with Microsoft Teams. But here you see a tab along the top, CAE1, and here as well you can access Trello. The third class I'm teaching, Listening and Speaking, it's going to be very similar. Along the top, we'll have an area for posts, files, and also a tab for Trello. Now, for those of you who are taking listening and speaking and also communicative abilities in English, we also have a fourth tab called Flipgrid, and we'll get into this when we start classes on Monday. But this is also another space that we're going to be using, and we can also get into Flipgrid directly within Microsoft Teams. Now, I will say, when you're using Trello and Flipgrid, always use your university account. Always use your Microsoft 365 account, signing in with your username and password that's assigned to your university account. We'll be using that same information to sign into Flipgrid and to Trello. Okay, it's not necessary, nor is it recommended, to create a personal account. We're going to continue using our same username and password as we use to access Microsoft 365. Okay, so this is Microsoft Teams. Now I'm going to open up my browser, and we'll go into Trello. Now this is exactly the same information here. Let me pull up first the discourse analysis, and you'll notice here this is exactly the same information as we saw here in Microsoft Teams, but I'll just show you here in the browser. If you feel more comfortable accessing the content in Trello using your browser, feel free to do so. But this is what it looks like in Microsoft Teams, and this is what it looks like in the browser. So if you're not familiar with Trello, again, you'll sign in using your Microsoft 365 account, and this is basically how we're going to access all of the course content. You'll notice that all of the course content is organized by week, horizontally across the page, moving from left to right. So you can scroll, if you put your cursor in the middle of the screen, you can scroll left and right as you access the different lists or the different weeks. Now, I would recommend, if you're using Firefox, to add an add-on that's called Strelloids. And this just gives you a little bit of additional functionality in terms of being able to collapse some of these lists, right? So as we're completing different weeks, moving from left to right, you might find it easier to collapse some of these so that the most current week, whatever week we happen to be on, will appear all the way to the left. Now, what I'm showing here is what it looks like within within the browser on your desktop computer. I believe you will not have this option if you're accessing the same content using the Trello app on your mobile device, on your cell phone, for example. But I would recommend, if you have space on your phone, to install the app Trello so that you can also access the same content. Now, you'll notice that some of these cards, these are called cards that reside within each list. So each of these cards will allow you to access additional information about what it is we're doing. So you can go in and see specifically what we need to do. And I believe you'll become more familiar with this as we get into the class, but just know that you can go into each of these cards and get more information about what we're doing, including assignments. And we're going to be using labels. So if I go into here under labels, just to show you, one of the labels is called graded assignment. That's in red. So you'll notice whenever we have cards that have this label in red, this will make it a little bit easier for you to identify those activities where you'll receive a grade. Right, so as you get into it, you'll become familiar with being able to search. And if you go into files, you can start to search different labels and start looking for information and filter information according to labels, so that, again, it just makes it that much easier to find information. Again, we'll be talking more about this in class, but at this point, I just want to give you a general overview of what to look for. And I want to share with you these two apps that we're going to be using, Microsoft Teams primarily and Trello. And each of these Trello cards should also allow you to add a comment towards the bottom. So that'll also be some activities some of the activities that we do in class will also involve leaving comments. All right, so Trello, Microsoft Teams, for those who are taking listening and speaking and also communicative abilities in English, we'll also be using Flipgrid. And those will be primarily the technologies that we'll be using, okay, overall. Again, we'll be talking about it. We'll be meeting on during our class sessions. At this point, the plan is to have online sessions during our class time in Microsoft Teams. And so if you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, if you go to the post section, you should be able to find the online sessions that are scheduled. Another easy way to do it, I think, is to go into the calendar in Microsoft Teams, where you can also find the same meetings or the same online sessions, and it will give you an option to sign in from the calendar directly, or again, within your team under posts. If anybody has any questions about the technology that we're using, especially getting started, please make sure you're sending me private chats via the Microsoft Teams chat, or feel free just to post if you think it's a question that others will benefit from. Feel free to open up the questions to the group by going to the post and starting a new conversation, and you can post your question there. All right, so I think we'll stop there. We're going to start classes on Monday, August 9th. Those of you who are taking discourse analysis will start at 9 o'clock. We'll have our first meeting 9 o'clock in the morning. Those who are taking communicative abilities in English 1 will have our first live session on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And those of you who are taking listening and speaking 1 in propaedeutics will have our first online meeting on Monday at 12 o'clock noon. So I think we'll stop there. If anyone is listening that also is just getting started with the classes and they're using technology and you want to share your experiences, feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter handle, BNLEEZ. And I think we'll stop there for today. This has been In the Classroom, an educational podcast making teaching and learning more transparent. Thanks for listening.